Question one. Am I wrong about something that I know? Simply put, yes, it's very unlikely that I'm correct about everything that I know. But I wanted to talk about one of the biggest changes in opinions that I've had, or uh, better put, one of the biggest things that I was wrong about, that I now hopefully am not wrong about. And that thing was immigration. I used to be very conservative. Now I'm much more progressive, but immigration was one of the biggest things that I would argue about. And my previous held belief was that immigration was a drain on the economy, that having immigrants of any kind coming to America would hurt the economy rather than bolster it. My main goal is obviously to further the prosperity of the American people. And that was how I saw the best way to do it, was to keep immigrants out and to keep uh, exports high. Exports high, imports low, so to speak. But in eighth grade, I got an assignment from my teacher, my agriculture teacher, and I was to write a speech on the effects of immigration on the agricultural industry. And I thought this would be very cool. I like arguing and I like making speeches, so I thought this would be good for me. So I just started researching, finding studies to support my claim using post hoc justifications. I began to find more and more that the most, I guess, critically acclaimed studies, you could say, for lack of a better term, all said that immigration, especially in the agricultural community, was a must, that we needed it. I was dumbfounded at first. As I looked more into it, I learned that 90% of workers in the agricultural community, or industry rather, are actually immigrants. 70% of those 90 are illegal immigrants. A further 70% of that 70% of the 90% are here on overstayed visas. They didn't just jump the border like I thought they did. They came here legally on working visas and simply didn't go back. Usually the reason that they don't go back is because they're sending money to their families in their home country. Now, at this point, my opinion was very, it was very heavily challenged, but I don't think I quite changed it until ninth grade. Now in ninth grade is when I started using Discord a lot. Discord's a platform where you can go into servers and chat and meet with all kinds of people. And mainly use it for video games. And as I started talking to other people about video games, conversations with friends that I'd made naturally drifted into other things. Again, I enjoy arguing a lot. So we argued about immigration a lot. And as I sent him my my good old InfoWars, my PragerU, my Turning Point USA sources, all showing that immigration was actually draining the economy, especially illegal immigration. They would send me peer-reviewed studies and meta-analyses that would show that, at the very, very least, immigration was just net zero on the economy. It would have no positive nor negative effects. That alone would be enough for a reasonable person to say that we should let immigrants in, after all, furthering the prosperity of people around America would surely bolster the prosperity of America itself. But most of these studies, even the most critical ones, would usually say that immigration helped. As I previously stated, the agricultural community or industry in America could not operate without immigrants. It absolutely could not. It would crumble to the ground, which would send sort of a rippling effect through the rest of the economy. Now, my current beliefs on immigration are simply that if you will not be a danger to society, that you should be led into America. It's really that simple. I don't think that the data really suggests that there's any harm in doing that. I think that it actually suggests quite the contrary. In many facets of the economy, immigration is necessary, and not only is it necessary, but it is preferable to having only native workers in the economy. Not only because it bolsters our economy itself, but also because it bolsters, I think, in my opinion, the cultural melting pot that America has come to be known for. I think that multiculturalism is a pretty good thing, generally speaking. I don't think that having one dominant culture is necessarily a good thing. In fact, I don't think most of America really thinks that either. I mean, you could take me from Oklahoma and put me in somewhere in California, and the culture would be completely different. And I think that's a good thing. There is plenty of different cultures that people can pick and choose from, and they can go as they please. And one of the main driving factors of this is immigration. And for that reason, I think that not only is immigration good, but it is very good. Question two was how does the environment that we live in create absurdist systems, and how does it give us meaning? The example that I used was the culture war. It's an online battle between the right and the left to try to pull in undecided voters, thus increasing their voting pool and thus increasing their chance that they'll pass legislation. The reason I picked this to talk about is because the culture war does two things very well. First thing, gives us meaning. It gives us something to fight for. It attacks very interesting topics, very debate-heavy topics that will be able to pull in uninterested people because it is interesting. The Kyle Rittenhouse case is interesting. But does it matter? Hell no, it doesn't matter. Who cares if the 18-year-old goes to prison? Nobody. The second thing it does really well is it distracts us, as I sort of alluded to just now. It distracts us from the real issues. No one talks about the infrastructure bill Biden just passed because nobody wants to read the damn thing. We need to learn about that. We need to learn its pros and cons, and we need to learn how to combat it if we need to. The culture war does these two things very well. And the reason that the right and the left keep perpetuating this is because they really don't care about issues, about real issues, about legislative issues. They care about owning the libs. That's all they really care about. When I say the right and the left, I mean these online figures. The Steven Crowders, the Ben Shapiros, the Jordan Petersons. On the left, we have the Destinies, the Bosches, the Xander Halls. They don't care about any of this. They care about owning the libs. They care about getting sick dunks on the other side and making them look stupid. Even if it means we don't get anything done. Obviously, this is bad, but how do we combat this? Well, we're never going to get rid of the culture war. It's always going to be there. However, we can take steps to reduce the impact it has on the current state of affairs. We can focus less on things like the Kyle Rittenhouse case and focus more on things like the Native American water supply. If you don't know, the Native American water supply right now, same with the Native Canadian water supply, or the Indigenous Canadian water supply, is awful right now. It's like, in a lot of places, when you turn on the faucet, it looks like chocolate milk. It's disgusting. It actually kind of makes me like throw up in my throat a little bit. Yeah, it's disgusting, but no one really talks about it because we would actually have to pass legislation to fix it, and that's not fun. That's not gripping. It doesn't give us something to fight for, so we don't do it. But we should. We should focus more on these things that we could actually pass legislation to fix. We should pass things like green energy. We should pass things that increase the welfare for people like single moms. Right now, with the welfare state, the state of welfare at the moment, when you're on welfare, it's very hard to get off, especially if you're somebody like a single mother with a child, with like more than one child. If there's a mom at home, a single mom at home with a kid, what can she really do? Especially if it's like a baby. She can't go to work. She has a baby to look after. She doesn't have a husband to be the breadwinner. She collects welfare, but she can't get a job because if she gets a job, she won't get the welfare. And so she has two options. She can A, collect the welfare, stay with her kid. B, get a job, get rid of the welfare, and leave the kid alone for who knows how long. These are obviously very bad options either way, and I think they need to be addressed, but they're not gripping, so we won't focus on them. But those are just a couple of the things that we could start doing to kind of shift the focus away from pedantics and focus on things that will actually affect people in America. Question three was, how does language impact our lives? Now, I'm going to use a personal anecdote for this. I used to be very conservative. The reason for that was when I was in about fifth grade and started listening to Sean Hannity on the radio on my way to school. In sixth grade, I started watching people like Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is very rhetorically effective. He is very good at tearing apart arguments while making his look good, even though they aren't all that meaty. They don't have a whole lot of substance to them. Now, after I watched Ben Shapiro for a while, I started seeing this guy named Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is a psychologist, a very smart psychologist, but when it comes to politics, he's often out of his depth, in my opinion. But he's very smart, he's very good with his words, and he knows how to find a very specific demographic of people, latch onto them, and pull them in. That demographic is generally young men, ages, 13 to mid 20s, lonely men, people that have been hurt, ostracized by society. And he basically makes himself a kind of a stand-in father for them, a stand-in father figure, a very parasocial father figure. And he has a book, 12 Rules for Life. Not an awful book in its own right. I read it. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. But then you get deeper, and you get bogged down in, like I mentioned before, the cultural war. And as you get bogged down in this, you get further down what some might call the alt-right pipeline. Jordan Peterson is a big factor in this. Usually it goes from, Ben Shapiro to Jordan Peterson to Steven Crowder to people like Alex Jones, conspiracy theorists, neo-Nazis. Then maybe go down to people that are actually Nazis, like Richard Spencer. And it happens little by little. These people are very rhetorically effective. They sort of hyperfixate on logical fallacies in a way. Like they're very, very, very good at just tearing into arguments, just ripping them apart completely. And they make them look just silly. But they don't really add anything to their own arguments. They do the fallacy. Your argument is bad, therefore my conclusion is correct. And that's how people really fall into that. They don't understand these things. They don't understand what to look out for, and so they fall down the trap. Now, the way I was brought out of it was I had friends who talked to me. These friends didn't call me a Nazi. They didn't call me a racist because I wasn't either of those things. I had some very bad opinions, but I was not a racist. I had bad opinions on things like immigration. But these people, they talked to me. They gave me evidence. They supported me. They were calm. They were, I guess, what's the word? They were calm and they were sincere in their argumentation. Daryl Davis did this too. Daryl Davis is a black musician, and he actually has a friend who used to be a very, very high-ranking member in the KKK. Through kindness and sincere argumentation, he pulled him out of that. And that's the same thing that happened to me. Now, obviously, I was not nearly as far down that rabbit hole as many other people are, especially not as the member of the KKK was, but regardless, I got out early. A lot of people didn't. But the only way to pull them out is to be sincere and to be kind, and most importantly, to make sure your own arguments are rock solid before you tear into theirs.